Hello, and welcome everyone to our third series of Amplify Voices of the Global Majority, focusing on the roots of yoga. My name is Kaveri Dadaberos, and I will be your host along with my colleague Miles Newton for our journey together throughout this week. Once again, Kripalu has joined forces with changemakers around the world who work to dismantle inequity, mitigate harm, steward the planet, prioritize collective wellness, and stress interdependent liberation. Throughout history, voices of the global majority, Black, Indigenous, people of color, have been at the forefront of breaking down barriers of systemic issues that affect both the planet and humanity while ushering in radical change. Whether that has been through bringing yoga to the West or fighting injustice on the front lines of society. We are so excited to be here with you to explore the heart and soul of an ancient practice of yoga, with an incredible and thoughtful panel of South Asian yoga teachers, practitioners, wisdom keepers, and lineage holders. Now is the time that requires us to listen, heal historical wounds, and to do something different. We enter this work as an act of community care because none of us can be well unless all of us are well. So again, welcome. We are inspired to be sharing this space with you. We are honored to gather today, virtually located in the Berkshire Hills of Massachusetts, on the original homelands of the Stockbridge-Munsee Band of Mohicans. And on behalf of Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health, we invite you to explore what land you are on and its indigenous inhabitants by using the link in the chat. Please take a moment to share with us the lands you are calling in from by typing that into the chat. Today, Kripalu works in reverence with these lands as a nonprofit educational organization dedicated to empowering people and communities to realize their full potential through the transformative wisdom and practice of yoga. Our Amplified Voices series has been made possible because of the generous gifts of our donors. We thank them, and we thank you all for your presence with us this evening. As a part of this collective space we share tonight, we would like to center our online community agreements. So we are posting them in the chat for everyone. Please take a moment to read them over and know that by being in this space, you are acknowledging and opting into them. We thank you for that. Let us take a moment to settle in a bit more together, and let's take 3 conscious breaths collectively by inhaling through the nose and gently exhaling through the mouth. You can close your eyes or gently lower your gaze for this. Let's begin. Thank you all. We are excited to introduce to you our Amplify artist in residence, Chetna Mehta. Chetna will weave the creation of a digital piece of art that represents the essence of the material presented in the Amplified series. This piece of art will eventually find its home in Kripalu campus in the Shadowbrick building. With faith that her human experience is not hers only, Chetna creates digital creations and prints that embolden themes of interdependence, diversity, fierce compassion, and liberation. Welcome, Chetna. We're so grateful to have you here. I invite you to come on and share some words about your process.
Thanks, Kaveri, so much. Thank you so much for having me. Gratitudes to Kripalu, to Jess, to Miles, to all the folks that I've been in community with, to ESET, all the folks that have been a bridge to bring me here to Kripalu as the artist in residence. I, as a multidisciplinary artist and a therapeutic facilitator, will really be leaning into the process of trusting in the emergence that comes up here in this space. I'm coming with intention to bring what I learned here, what I witnessed here, to visual by the end of this week, or rather to gather resource, gather inspiration to create something that then will be revealed to the Kripalu community after this summit, this event, and really trusting in what is shared here, what so many of the wisdom keepers share here, how the community responds to what is shared, and listening to words and threads that seem to speak very truly to also what resonates with me and what feels true. So yeah, really leaning into how this is a co-created process, and I'm just the one to bring it to material form through my artistry, really honoring what happens here as the inspiration for what's to come.
Great. Thank you so much, Chetna. We can't wait to hear from you later in the week to share how this journey is creatively expressing itself through you. We really appreciate you being here. Tonight, the first presenter of our 9-session series, we welcome Acharya Shunya, sharing a talk called Amplifying the Roots of Yoga through the Bhagavad Gita. Acharya is a truth teller, a mystic teacher, trailblazing spiritual teacher, and best-selling author who facilitates bold authenticity, divine awareness, self-remembrance, and wisdom pathways to awakening within. As the first female head of her 2,000-year-old Vedic lineage from India, Acharya's open-hearted, inclusive, and non-dual teachings interpret and recontextualize ancient Hindu teachings and goddess legends for modern times, always honoring her progressive Vedic roots while breaking the shackles of tradition to bring modern-day women an inclusive feminist spirituality. Miles and I are here to support your needs during this presentation. Our info is in the chat. Please feel free to direct message us. Towards the end of the session, there may be an opportunity to have some questions answered that have been gathered. Please use the Q&A feature located in your Zoom toolbar on the bottom or on the top if you're on your phone. Please use this feature rather than typing any questions into the chat. And now, without further ado, Acharya Shunya, everyone. Welcome, Acharya Ji. So good to be with you here. And I will.
Thank you so much, Kaveri. Thank you so
welcome.
much. I had a brief tech glitch before I came on. So at this point, I am going to invite Ganesha, the wisest of the wise, the remover of obstacles. Please join me all. Om Ganana Tva Ganapati Gum Havamahe Kavim Kavina Upamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanspata Anashadavanyotibhi Siddhisadanam Mahaganapataye Namaha. Namaste again, and I am deeply privileged to bring the Bhagavad Gita to this important summit, because the Bhagavad Gita is an important aspect, or almost a foundational aspect, of the roots of yoga. And a little bit about myself is that my name, Acharya Shunya. I am coming to you from Northern California. I am located in lands that have been lovingly cultivated and possessed by the Ohlone and the Yurgen Indians for 3,000 years. And then I myself was born in the other India across the globe, in a tiny pilgrimage town in northern India called Ayodhya, which is the birthplace of Lord Rama. I come from an ancient family. We trace our lineage to Yogi Vasishta and Yogini Arundhati, his partner. This amazing yogi couple had an ashram in Ayodhya, and my family still lives and teaches the yogic philosophy, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita in that tiny town. And in more recent years, if we come back to more recent times than in the 19th century, my great-grandfather, Acharya Shanti Prakash, was a renowned yogi, householder yogi, and a renowned teacher of the Bhagavad Gita. He also compiled the Adi Bhagavad Gita of 84 verses from palm leaf manuscripts. Then his son, my grandfather, my immediate guru, Baba Ayodhya Nath, was a legendary teacher. He also spent many years in the Himalayas before returning back into the daily life, into the battles of daily life, but he brought his Himalayan serenity to his householder life, and he taught me how to be both a householder and a yogini at the same time. My father is also a renowned author, honored for his contributions to this path. And as for me, I'm a bridge. I'm a bridge between the Eastern roots and the Western manifestation. And bridges play an important role because you will see that I often quote in Sanskrit, or I chant from the Bhagavad Gita, but as a bridge, I dream in English. And I have enjoyed the literature, the cuisines, the spiritual teachings, and the metaphysical speculations of the whole world. And as a bridge, my dharma is to be really true to my roots, and at the same time be really open to what fruits these roots are going to offer in the world. So coming back to the use of Sanskrit language, the truth of yoga is no less in any language. Whether I was speaking in English or Bengali, Punjabi, or Russian or Chinese, when we speak from the heart, it is received. And yogic communication is about that. But Sanskrit is known as Deva Bhasha, the language of the enlightened ones. It was scoped not for ordinary daily conversation, but for communicating that which cannot be known ordinarily, cannot be comprehended simply. Those spiritual, philosophical, metaphysical truths of yoga come through beautifully. And so because I have this legacy from time to time, I will share some of the verses from the Bhagavad Gita, time permitting. But be assured that every time I speak, I will be speaking from my heart. And so you will receive that. And I invite you to receive what I have to say. Let language never be a bar between us. Let cultures, the complexion of our body, our genders, our sexual preferences, these are such minor logistical matters in our shared humanity that yoga points to, that may this session be an offering to our common humanity, to that one self that dwells within each one of us. And because I am going to be teaching from the Bhagavad Gita or about the Bhagavad Gita and what yoga today can benefit from the Bhagavad Gita of back then, I would like to offer a prayer to Bhagavad Gita itself as is traditional for my lineage. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshaniam Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayanim Amba Tvam Anusandadami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshanim. We see the Bhagavad Gita as divine feminine incarnate, and we say that the Bhagavad Gita was taught to Arjuna, a seeker like me and you, just thousands of years ago, by Narayana himself. Narayana is another name for cosmic consciousness, spoken in the middle of Mahabharata, the great battle, which was then captured by the ancient sage Vyasa in writing. And this Gita showers the elixir of non-dual wisdom, of radical unity, radical oneness, that love which dissolves all hatred, all separation, all divisions. O Mother of 18 chapters, we're referring to the Bhagavad Gita as a mother. We meditate on thee, on you, you who is the destroyer of suffering. So with the prayers out of the way, with the obeisances paid as is traditional, just like we would sit down at the dinner table and be grateful to the universal energy with unique names of our culture, but that one energy to provide food on our table, we are grateful to partake the spiritual food of the Gita, because the Gita is a yoga shastra. It is an anthology of yoga. And through its 18 chapters, it provides minimum 18 ways to be in yoga or union with our best self, our higher self, the cosmic self. And there are specific 4 pathways, which I will be pointing to in my discussion today. There will also be a handout that you will receive in your inboxes shortly after this session, which also will provide you with some key verses pertaining to each of the 4 main yoga types. Before I proceed into actual Bhagavad Gita, I must once again congratulate Kripalu for not only opening an important discussion, but continuing it. This is the 3rd summit over 3 years, I believe. And I suppose it's already out there that there is some gaping wounds here, that there is something that needs attention. And what I really love is that as a community, we are paying attention. This conversation is not firefighting now anymore. This conversation is about how can we bring healing? How can we plant the new saplings that are going to become fruit-bearing trees tomorrow? How can we invite the birds and butterflies from South Asian homes, families, schools, ashrams, monasteries into that forest? So bravo, well done, Kripalu. And it is indeed a privilege to be a part of this and continue to do what I do best, which is to be a bridge between modern yoga, which is here, and it's not going to go away, and it shouldn't have to. But then there is also this ancient yoga, and as bridges, can we create a communication between them? Can there be something that ancient iconoclastic teachers like myself can benefit from the modern interpretation, ethos, and sensibility of yoga? And can the modern yoga not feel like I belong to maybe a past era, and that there is something to learn from teachers like myself? But the way my books are read around the world and the way my teachings are received with open hearts, I know that these bridges are already forming. So it's from a place of optimism And it's from a place of empowerment that I take forward my discussion today. And I do want to remove this misconception from the outset that yoga only belongs to a certain set of people and not to the other set of people. These kind of silos or conflicting spaces do not really represent yoga. What we have to do is bring about a balance and integration, and to ensure that yoga worldwide becomes more inclusive. And there is definitely a nod to its roots, its greater South Asian roots, its Indian roots, and even to its to the scriptures, the philosophical, metaphysical scriptures of the Vedic Hindu tradition, not the religion itself, but to the beautiful, inclusive philosophy contained in the later part of the Vedas called the Upanishads. And by the way, the Bhagavad Gita is also an Upanishad from the 108 well-known Upanishads, perhaps the most popular of them all. The part that I really like and feel good about is that when we excavate the roots from the tradition I represent, we find nothing but inclusivity. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani paschantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. May all beings be happy. May none suffer from sorrow. May all beings be free of disease. So it's not about may only the brown people on this side of the river Indus, in this locality and in this community be well, and not the others. It's about all beings. And then the Rig Veda, the most ancient text from the Vedic tradition, says, Ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti. You might just enjoy how Sanskrit is sounding because it's a very phonetic language. And it's supposed to kind of ignite sattva, and in modern language, serotonin within our brains. So when we say ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti, what we are really saying is there is only one truth, one reality, one truth, one truth. Albeit the scholars of different traditions call it by different names. So there is already a recognition that we can have different language, different symbols, different cultural motives, different expressions, but we are still heading towards that convergent point of radical unity. In fact, this is my favorite verse that I'm going to share with you from the Upanishad, which says, Ayam nija paro veti Gadana lagu chetasam udara charita tu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. What is it saying? This thousands of year old Upanishad is saying, for the narrow-minded people, they say that this belongs to me and this doesn't belong to the others. But for the person who is broad-minded, whose awareness is expanded, they do not differentiate. For them, the universe is one big family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And everybody belongs to that common human family where everything is shared. So to the sharing of yoga, to the respect of yoga and its roots, and to the relearning, we can do that. Maybe the first stage of yoga and its commodification or its miracle and its surprises is over, and now it's time to just have a next level discussion, which we are having, and it's joyful. That's what I would say to you. Now, coming back to the Gita, let's just look at the first two words, and that's going to start us off on what we can take away from yoga, in yoga from the Bhagavad Gita. The first two words of Gita are Dharmkshetre Kurukshetre. And I won't read the whole verse to you, but Kshetra literally means the field of consciousness, the field of awareness, the field of action, the field in which we have to seek yoga, a union with our own higher consciousness, with the divine consciousness. And this is in chapter 13, Krishna clarifies that. Dharma kshetra means the field of where we follow enlightened ideas, the kind I mentioned earlier, expansive ideas, non-dual ideas, the ideas that promote diversity, equality, inclusiveness, social justice. And then there is Kurukshetra, and Kurukshetra is the field of battle, not just the battle outside between warring groups and interest lobbies, but the war that happens within us. Should I hate because the person looks different or talks differently or worships a different god or mates a different way than I do or eats a different way than I do? Or should I extend understanding and love? So Dharmkshetre, Kurukshetra is the first two words of the Bhagavad Gita, boom, announced to us modern yogis that what is the yoga field like? We have two options open for us. The option to battle, to be in conflict, to be caught up in the shadow, or to be in the mode of dharma, enlightenment, higher consciousness, greater choices. What's your choice? And why is it so? Why is it so? Because yoga is, although right now it's a lot about, stretching the limbs, taking care of the muscles and inflammation, but really yoga is, and we all know that, and I don't have to preach this from the pulpit, but yoga has to do with the mind. Yoga is the science of mind. And we have these two arenas, two fields where our mind can get caught up in conflicts, in polarities, in divisiveness, or in union, oneness, and enlightenment, because our mind inherently has a tendency to be either our friend or our enemy. That's why in chapter 6, Krishna says, Atmeva hyatmano bandhuhu, Atmeva ripuratmanaha. You can elevate yourself through the power of your mind, or you can become degraded through that same mind, because the mind can be the friend or it can be the enemy of the self. So if this is the case, then I have to say this mind is really powerful. And going forward, if we can use the roots of yoga and explore Bhagavad Gita, we would really understand that we are standing at the threshold, not only as individuals, but as collective. Not only as human beings in the 21st century, but human beings who are facing possible extinction due to our own ecologically unsound choices. That this is now the time to not take our mind flippantly and understand the power of the mind. Your mind is with you 24 hours. When your mind wakes up, the world appears. When your mind falls asleep, the world disappears. When your mind is in a good place, the world is a good place. It has potential for you. When the mind is in a bad space, the world is a difficult place full of obstacles for you. So that's the power of the mind. And further, there are two kinds of creative endeavors or creative capacities described by the Bhagavad Gita. There is a creation is known as Srishti, and there is the sequential creation or Krama Srishti, Krama, Krama Srishti, which literally means it's sequential. You want to fashion a pot from clay. You have to go find the clay, then you have to clean it, then you have to fashion it on a potter's wheel, then you have to bake it, then you have to paint it. So all these sequential work that happens, cause, effect, and that's how it proceeds. But there is another kind of creation that happens in the mind, and this is known as the Sankalpa Srishti. Through a sheer thought, a creation takes place. You create entire cities with skyscrapers and bridges and rainbows and beautiful people in it, in your dreams in an instant. Similarly, in an imagination, we create instantly, right? So the mind can create instantly anything and everything. In fact, outwardly, we have to follow a more sequential creativity, but inwardly, we have instant creativity. Now, part of yogic process is to take our mind from this difficult creativity, stodgy creativity, creativity that's filled with obstacles inner and outer, to be able to really create, really truly manifest through our thought. So this whole manifestation, bandwagon is not new. In fact, the ancient yogis could instantly, by the power of their thought, become invisible or change the body size or suddenly have unending amounts of food for everyone to end hunger. And these were known as vibhutis, or the capacity of the mind to be really in sync with what? With a more cosmic mind. So now I'm going to take the mind discussion further to say we have really just kind of touched the tip of the iceberg with an asana-centric yoga understanding. If we get into the Bhagavad Gita, we will realize that there is always great advantage in docking our individual minds, known as Vayashti. And just let the Sanskrit slide off you, because I'm also giving you the English words. Docking the individual mind in the cosmic mind. And the cosmic mind is known as Samashti, or the total mind, the mind of every living creature over multiple parallel galaxies, again mentioned in the Gitas, and then more, because it is the mind that has created all of this and can dissolve all of this in an instant. So just like we create in our dream, and when we are in alignment with the universal mind, which is the total mind, the universal mind, the cosmic mind, which is also known as the Hiranyagarbha, the golden mind, then our ordinary mind comes into this supreme state of consciousness, which is the superconsciousness state, which is the state of samadhi, which is the state of yoga, where then we are no longer simply struggling. We are also manifesting for ourselves peace of mind, clarity, ease, lightness. And even if we want to leave the vibhutis or the miracles aside, hey, I will take well-being. I will take the power of my superconscious mind any day. When I recovered from a genetic disorder that used to make me use crutches in my younger days, when I recovered from a car accident, because of which I could barely move my body, and become pain-free by using the mind, then you know that somewhere yoga is working for you. When you become a person who is in complete sovereignty of your being, and your sorrow is authentic and your happiness is authentic, your relationships are authentic, your endings of those relationships are authentic, your no's are authentic, and your yeses are authentic, then you know that truly my mind is no longer a liability for me. I'm not trying to just shoot it off. It is no longer something I have to medicate. It is something I'm moving towards the goal of docking into or having a union with the cosmic mind. And that's why we have this favorite saying that my Guru Baba used to say a lot, kartum, akartum, anathava kartum. And he would say it in this delightful Sanskrit way of saying things when I didn't know Sanskrit at that time. And I'd go, what it meant was, do it this way and do it that way. Or guess what, Shunya? Imagine it and do it a whole another way. which meant the way you're going to do it has not been thought of by humanity till now. The way you are going to progress along the spiritual, mystical path, the yogic path, may not have been thought through, but we're going to do it now because we can, because we have those amazing minds. They're already a gift, and we have to begin to unwrap it and see it as a gift, not as a liability. And now, to understand the mind as a gift, I come to the next topic, which is the topic of Ishvara. Ishvara, which is cosmic consciousness, has been mentioned in the most popular scripture or text of yoga in the West, the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which came almost 2,000 years after the Bhagavad Gita. But definitely, Patanjali was not having a conversation in the vacuum. The very word atha yoga anushasana, atha always at the beginning of a text means I'm continuing a conversation that was started a long time ago. And so we need to once again understand the roots, once again understand or make an effort to just understand, appreciate, maybe check out a few books or listen to a few podcasts, lectures, attend summits like this to become more familiar with this atha, the context. And what's the context? And the Rig Veda says, one fire burns in many ways. One sun illumines countless worlds. One dawn dispels the darkness of countless minds. All that exists is that one truth. It alone has taken myriad forms. So they are now alluding to this concept of a cosmic consciousness, which is not a person. It is not a personality wearing Indian clothes and holding on to Hindu objects that are sacred. This is really, it is beyond comprehension of our senses, mind, and intellect, because the Upanishads could conceive of that scale of oneness. And a truth that's not just the truth of Christians or the truth of Jews or the truth of Hindus and the truth of Sikhs or the truths of, it was not the truth of people connected by one reason. It was the truth of all beings. In fact, there is this beautiful verse which says, Satyena dharyate prithvi, Satyena tapate ravihi, Satyena vati vayuscha, Sarvam satya pratishtitam. If truth is truth, then it's not an ordinary petty truth, my truth, your truth, not their truth. It's not a politicized truth. It is the truth by which the earth is supported. It is the truth by which the sun shines. It is the truth by which the wind blows. Indeed, all things rest upon that truth. So if you are now motivated to know more, then really we have to look at this concept of Ishvara, which is akin to cosmic mind, which is akin to cosmic consciousness, which is akin to that one truth. It is beyond religion, beyond culture, and Patanjali alludes to it not in one or two, but several sutras. And in fact, Patanjali says that we have to surrender to Ishvara. And, our antennae come up because we're wondering, who do I have to surrender to? Oh, no. But this is not surrendering to any external figure. This is not surrendering to any external culture. When we surrender to Ishvara, we are surrendering to that cosmic samashti, that cosmic mind, that totality, that ultimate conscious intelligence, the force of the universe, because that is the path to yoga. So the definitions of Ishvara that are missing in Patanjali, that Bhagavad Gita has, which I can elucidate, a teacher like myself, then start, kind of fill in the blanks for us. What is Ishvara? Because we cannot even say who is Ishvara. What is Ishvara? Sarva ishate iti ishaha. That power, that intelligence which controls everything, every particle of the universe, every sand particle, every blade of grass, that is Ishvara. So now suddenly, bells and whistles, woof, I'm being asked to surrender to that power, that power. I'm not being asked to become dogmatic or religion or sign up for something that's foreign to me. It may be a Sanskrit word, but the root of Ishvara is Isha, which means power, the inner power of everything. How does a rock know how to be a rock? How does a fish know to be a fish? How does a human baby know how to suckle its mother's breast within 1 minute of its birth? Because of that inner power surging through this universe. Srishti Sthiti Laya Samartha iti Ishvaraha. What does this Ishvara accomplish? It accomplishes the power of creation, the power of sustenance, and the power of dissolution. Every thought is born, it has a life, and then it dies. Every cell is born, it has a life, and then it dies. Every star is created, then it lives, and then it dies. The whole universe is going through these three principles of manifestation, preservation, and annihilation, dissolution. And that is why Patanjali says, Ishvara pranidhanatva. Go ahead and surrender to this Ishvara. And very important in chapter 4, verse 1, Patanjali says, Samadhi siddhi Ishvara pranidhanat. What will happen when you surrender to this force of the universe, this intelligence of the universe? You no longer are just leading your life with the, tiny ego that you have, going about trying to solve the mysteries of the universe. You've really docked your mind into the cosmic mind. Woohoo! You are going to achieve samadhi. And let's break down the word samadhi etymologically. Samadhi. Dhi means again, the waves of the mind calm down, chitta vritti nirodha, and they become a calm ocean. Sama, balanced dhi, balanced mind, equanimous mind, through which the truth that the self within you and the self within all beings and the self of the universe is one. These gaps are created. So we throw the baby with the bathwater, too religious, too Hindu, too Sanskrit, too foreign. But really, the most beautiful mystical observations are awaiting your discovery. And starting to read the Bhagavad Gita, learn it, or decode its verses is a great beginning. It is said that from the 700 verses of the Gita, I think 574 or 75, I don't remember exactly, were spoken by Krishna. And each verse pertains to yoga, each verse. For example, in chapter 2, verse 69, Krishna says, Yanisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagritam samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sanisha pashyate munehe. Lot of Sanskrit, but look at the meaning. And any teacher who is a bridge, and there are many teachers like me who are a bridge, who are joining me in this summit, they will bring to you the fact home that what ordinary people who are not yogis or yoga seekers consider as daytime, that's nighttime for us. We're not running to those goals. Just buying a designer handbag or watching a movie on the first day of its opening is not going to give us the ultimate joy. But what is nighttime for those other people is bright light for us yogis, because though it may be difficult out there, darkness out there, dark night of the soul going on, we know that our mind is connected to the cosmic mind, the Vayashti to the Samashti, the inner self to the higher self, the Atma to the Ishvara. And we are understanding that even in this difficult moment, I can be in a state of yoga. In fact, the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the protagonist, Arjuna, who learns from Krishna, the teacher, is deeply suffering. He's depressed. He's having cognitive dissonance, really, like we all undergo when we have relationship problems. And he's having problems with his own first cousins. And that chapter is called Vishad Yoga, how to be in a state of yoga when you are in depression, when you are in sorrow, by bringing the concept of Ishvara closer. Oh, Ishvara, I surrender even in this immense breakdown of my life to that greater cosmic purpose. There must be an intelligent purpose. There is not a single atom out of place in this universe. Everything is connected. Then this difficult moment is surely part of that intelligent, elaborate setup. So once I really got Gita and I got yoga, I get excited when difficulties come my way, really. Really, I do. I'm like, wow, what is that great cosmic mind trying to tell me? What directions am I getting? Look at that. Oh, wow. I grow, and as you will. Continuing to explore yoga through two more purposes, and then really just quickly winding up thereafter is my goal now. Do you know that in Bhagavad Gita, yes, union is yoga. Yukta means union, right? So we have the Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, verse 18, which says uniting with that mind, the individual mind with the cosmic mind, the individual self, a Purusha with the cosmic Purusha, the individual Atma with Paramatma, the individual spirit with the cosmic spirit. This is yoga. Go for it. Yes. And I'm not reading the verse or chanting it because there's no time. But do you know that in the same chapter, but verse 23, just coming a few verses later, disuniting is also yoga. What's that? Tam vidyat dukha samyoga viyogam yog sanjitam. What does it mean? It means that while uniting with our spirit self, our consciousness, higher self is yoga, but then disuniting on purpose, separating from those things that cause emotional suffering is also yoga. So that's known as Viyoga, Viyoga, Viyoga. And Viyoga should precede yoga. And Patanjali has also spoken about it, how the 5 panchakleshas, avidya, metaphysical ignorance, asmita, egotism, raga, attachment, dvesha, aversion, abnivesha, clinging to our mortal material identity. All of these cause suffering, and we have to separate from it. How? Through knowledge. And Bhagavad Gita ensures that happens. And only then, when you close your eyes and you chant Om, or you take a deep breath, and you remember that you're not alone, and that Ishvara, that higher power, is throbbing and surging through you, through every tree, through every root, through every flower, through every eye, suddenly everything starts calming down. And separation no longer remains an obligation. Your eyes will see separation, but your inner eyes will perceive oneness. That is why in another Upanishad, the Ishavasya Upanishad, it is said, Ishavasya idam sarvam. Everywhere you look, where is not Ishvara? Ishvara is in the tadpole, Ishvara is in the frog, Ishvara is in the sunrise. And if you are religious, you can say, okay, Ishvara is in church, Ishvara is in temple. And if you're an atheist, you can say Ishvara is in science. If you're an agnostic, it doesn't matter. You cannot deny the cosmic intelligence, the cosmic existence, and the cosmic force. And that is Ishvara. But to connect with that Ishvara, because usually it is latent within us. It is covered up with the panchakleshas. It is covered up with ignorance known as avidya or maya. And Bhagavad Gita and its methodical chapter by chapter study helps us unravel that cloak of ignorance And believe me, you don't even have to listen to all 18. By the end of second chapter, you feel like, I must have arrived. I'm there. So the remaining 16 are only bonus. It may seem like I'm trying to sell you on Bhagavad Gita, but I'm trying to tell you that I'm not your typical iconoclastic yogic Acharya teacher. I have been born in a certain family. I have been trained in a certain language, but I am a free spirit and I'm a wild spirit. And my most favorite people are the people who don't follow rules. And yet I found in Bhagavad Gita that very journey to follow rules till you unfollow the rules, to be part of something, to ultimately become transcendent to everything. It is not a box, it's an unboxer of the ultimate kind, because that's what yoga is. And if ever yoga boxes you into this fine looking, nice little box with all the trimmings of either modern modified yoga or ancient romanticized yoga, then it's a box. But if there is knowledge, and if with every verse you feel free and you feel the throbbing inheritance of that divine cosmic power within you, then you're talking yoga. That's what I would say to you. There are 4 yogas, which I have to summarize now in like 3 minutes or 4 minutes. I can do it because yoga is something that can be spoken for the rest of our life, or you can just go into silence and you're in a state of yoga. So it's no biggie. It begins with karma yoga because we're all active people and we are blumbering about in our life. You know, we're trying to fulfill our basic needs and we are trying to be in a spiritual mode at the same time. And karma also means action. How can you act in your professional life, in your relationships as moms and dads and in-laws and parents and daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws and professionals and single gals and single guys and single mixed gender people whose identity is questioned? And how do you truly, truly own your identity through everything, through all your actions, through this difficult stage of life? And that's what karma yoga teaches us. Grateful to the Bhagavad Gita for teaching me how to just really own all parts of myself, the broken parts, the confused parts, the sullen parts, the stupid parts, and the shining parts and the lit parts and the enlightened parts, all into one bundle of activity. I'm a leader at the world stage. I'm a president of many organizations, and I'm also a spiritual teacher and a mother of a human child and a couple of animal children, and I'm a gardener. And how do you do all this? And how do you stay in a state of yoga? It's wrongly understood that karma yoga is only about service. Yes, it's about the spirit of service, but it's not just about service. It's also about acting in such a way that you become released into being a free person rather than a bound person. Karma yoga leads into Jnana yoga, a preparation of union with your own higher self, that part of you that is Ishvara. Because Ishvara need not be found beyond the clouds. Ishvara need not be found by taking a pilgrimage to India necessarily, inside a temple, inside a deity, but Ishvara dwells within you as your own higher light, your higher intelligence. How do you achieve that? How do you achieve that and become content within yourself? Atmeva atmana tushtaha. How do you become so full, so sublime, so full of light, so full of joy? Well, that's Jnana yoga. Or in this yoga, you don't have to do anything but simply listen, contemplate, and then experience. 3 steps. That's it. And it feels like you're being set free to know your own light. And every verse brings you into your own. Then there is Raj Yoga, or also known as Upasana Yoga, also known as Samadhi Yoga. Patanjali is a text completely, Patanjali Yoga Sutras is completely dedicated to it, but this finds it echo in the Bhagavad Gita also, especially in chapter 6, where Krishna, the yoga guru, teaches us how to restrain the mind, even though it's difficult in the beginning. But once the mind is restrained, it has a darshan, or a vision of its own higher truth, the light, the consciousness, the Ishvara within. And then everything changes. You may look the same physically, but internally you're a different person because you've had that samadhi experience, and there is no returning from a samadhi back to your original place. You are a supermind, and it just keeps improving after that. And finally, there is bhakti yoga, and I'm just looking at the time. But bhakti comes from the root bhaj, which means constant remembrance. And bhakti yoga has a lot of beautiful elements in it, like chanting, kirtan, devotion, ecstatic dancing. And I'm actually currently working on a book about these yogas, especially bhakti yoga, and it's just filling me with delight. But if you think about it, bhakti to what? Yes, it can be to a symbol of your choice, your culture, which is completely okay, because that's what yoga is all about, this openness. But ultimately, bhakti is to Ishvara. And where is Ishvara? Is it far away, sitting in the temple or the church, beyond the clouds, inaccessible? Or is Ishvara coming to you through every eye and through the mountains and rivers that have become now sacred? So is it all around you? Or is Ishvara found in your inner contemplation as you chant Om, or as you sing and your eyes start flowing and you get into this trance of singing and chanting and dancing and meditating? And this is a bhakti is translated into devotion. But to be honest, I don't know if sometimes English words do justice to the Sanskrit word of bhakti. But bhakti is like removing all the straps and completely walking to the edge of consciousness and jumping from there into the abstract Ishvara catching you somewhere. Entrust your ship sails and somehow finds its home. So Bhakti Yoga doesn't have a specific chapter, although chapter 12 is huge in Gita about Bhakti. Bhakti is throughout the Bhagavad Gita. And there is really no Jnana Yoga without Bhakti, no Karma Yoga without Bhakti. Bhakti is a real deep foundation. There has been a teaching that if you're intellectual, go for Jnana Yoga. If you're active, go for Karma Yoga. If you're spiritual and artistic, go for Bhakti Yoga. I feel that can be an argument we make, but I think that's a early persuasion of souls. But really, the Bhagavad Gita is inviting us to all these yogas. Settle down your activities with Karma Yoga. Anchor your mind in yourself with Jnana Yoga. Come into your higher cosmic mind with Raja Yoga. And then blast into ecstasy with Bhakti Yoga. So with this, I conclude my sharing on the roots of yoga and tracing it to bhakti. What I did was I kind of gave you a little taste, a little sampler of what all awaits you. And many of you already may be knowers of the Gita or followers of it or authors and writers of it. Thank you for all your support. And once again, thank you, Kripalu. I can't wait for all the other spiritual colleagues bringing forth their beautiful, beautiful gems forward. Thank you, everyone, once again. And thank you for all your love. I'm receiving it. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much, Acharya Ji. That was beautiful and deep and very rich presentation. I enjoyed it deeply. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight for the opening session of our Amplified series, Amplifying the Roots of Yoga through the Bhagavad Gita with Acharya Shunya. And a very special thank you to you again, Acharya Ji, and our donors for supporting this third year of our Amplify Voices and the Global Majority series. And thanks again to all of your presence with us online. Your support is vital to our Amplify series. Together, we uplift voices of the global majority and are dedicated to dismantling injustice and nurturing our planet.